when the text came through. It wasn't from anyone I expected, a random number, but the words hit me like a freight train. That man got what he deserved. His money is ours now. LOL, Mom's already filed for divorce. Don't worry, we're set for life. I blinked, rereading it as the blood drained from my face. The man they were mocking? My father. My father, who had raised me single-handedly after my mother passed, who had built a multi-million-dollar business empire from nothing. My father, who now lay in a hospital bed after a massive stroke that had paralyzed the entire left side of his body. And the people laughing at his condition? His second wife, Clara, and her snake of a daughter, Madison. Couldn't believe it. My hands trembled as I set the phone down, my heart racing. Clara had always been manipulative, sure, but this? Stealing my father's money and celebrating his downfall while he was vulnerable? Filing for divorce while he couldn't even sign his own name? Anger boiled inside me like I'd never felt before. I wasn't going to let this slide. My father had been too kind, too trusting, and look where it got him. But me? I wasn't going to let them destroy him. Not without a fight. By the time I arrived at my father's sprawling estate, I'd already started digging. Clara had access to all his accounts, but I had something she didn't. A lifetime of trust with my dad. I'd been his confidant, his partner in crime, the one he leaned on for advice. And now, I was going to use that trust to dismantle every lie she'd built. The house was eerily quiet when I stepped inside. Usually, Clara would be draped across the couch, sipping wine and pretending to care about Dad's business. But today it was empty, too empty. My gut told me she was up to something, and I wasn't wrong. I found her in the study, her back to me as she rifled through drawers. She didn't hear me approach, too busy muttering to herself about hidden accounts and payouts. Looking for something? I asked, my voice icy. She spun around, her face paling when she saw me. Oh, darling, you scared me. She recovered quickly, plastering on that fake smile I'd grown to hate. I was just organizing your father's files. You know, with everything going on. It's been so overwhelming. Sure you were. I crossed my arms, not bothering to hide my suspicion. Funny, I didn't think organizing required withdrawing millions from his accounts. Her smile faltered. I don't know what you're talking about. I stepped closer, my voice low. I've seen the transactions, Clara. And I've seen the text Madison sent. Do you really think you can just steal everything and walk away? Her eyes narrowed, and for the first time, I saw the venom beneath her polished exterior. You have no idea what you're getting into. Sweetheart, she hissed. This isn't your fight. Oh, it's my fight now, I shot back. And trust me, you won't win. The next morning, I called my father's lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Angela who had been with him for years. If anyone could help me untangle the mess Clara was creating, it was her. I knew she was trouble, Angela said after I explained everything. But this is beyond anything I expected. Your father trusted her with too much. Can we stop her? I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. Angela sighed. It won't be easy. She's already moved a significant amount of money, and proving coercion or fraud will take time. But if we can show that your father was incapacitated when she made these transfers, we might have a case. What do you need from me? Everything, she said firmly. Bank statements, text messages, any proof you can find that ties her to this. And you'll need to get your father's power of attorney transferred to you. Without it, we're stuck. The thought of confronting Clara again made my stomach churn. But I didn't have a choice. My father's legacy and his dignity depended on it. That evening, I confronted Clara again, this time armed with Angela's advice. She was sitting at the dining table, sipping wine and scrolling through her phone like she didn't have a care in the world. Enjoying yourself? I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. She looked up, feigning surprise. Oh, you're still here? I thought you'd gone back to your little apartment. I ignored the jab. We need to talk about Dad's accounts. Her expression hardened. What about them? You're done accessing them. As of now, I'm filing for power of attorney. You can't touch another dime. Her laugh was cold and sharp. Oh, sweetheart, do you really think you can outsmart me? Your father gave me access for a reason. You're just a child playing dress up. Her words stung, but I didn't let it show. We'll see about that, I said, turning on my heel and leaving her fuming. Later that night, I sat in my childhood bedroom, poring over the files I'd taken from my dad's office. It didn't take long to find something shocking. Clara had been funneling money into offshore accounts for months, maybe years. It wasn't just theft. It was premeditated, calculated, and ruthless. And if she thought she could get away with it, she was dead wrong. Armed with the discovery of Clara's offshore accounts, I knew I needed more evidence. Something undeniable that would expose her for what she truly was. But I also knew she wouldn't give me another chance to snoop around. From now on, she'd be watching me like a hawk. That's when I decided to play her game. I called Madison. I hated the thought of speaking to her, but if I could exploit her arrogance, it might lead me to the evidence I needed. Madison, it's me, I said, trying to sound casual. Look, I know things have been tense, but I think we're on the same side here. She snorted. You? On my side? That's rich. Look, I don't like Clara any more than you do. I lied, knowing full well that Madison secretly despised her mother. If she's taking everything, that means there won't be anything left for either of us. There was a pause. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe it's time we work together. For our own benefit. It took some convincing, but Madison's greed won out. She agreed to meet me the next day to talk strategy. Little did she know, she was about to hand me everything I needed. The next morning, I met Madison at a cafe in town. She showed up in her usual designer clothes, oozing smugness. She thought she had me wrapped around her finger. That was her first mistake. So, what's your big plan? She asked, sipping her overpriced latte. I need to know what Clara's been up to, I said, leaning in conspiratorially. If she's hiding money, we should know about it. That way, we can make sure we get our fair share. Madison's eyes lit up. She's been moving millions to some offshore accounts. She even showed me the paperwork. Mom says it's all legit, but I'm not so sure. Do you have any of that paperwork? I asked, trying to sound casual. She hesitated, but her greed outweighed her caution. I might. Why? Because if it's not legit, we can use it against her. Think about it, no Clara, just us. We could control everything. Madison grinned, clearly loving the idea. I'll get it for you, but you better not screw me over. Oh, don't worry, I said, hiding my smirk. This will be worth it. That evening, Madison sent me photos of the documents Clara had shown her. It was all there. Account numbers, transfer dates, even handwritten notes from Clara detailing how to cover her tracks. I forwarded everything to Angela, who called me immediately. This is gold, she said, her voice tinged with excitement. With this, we can prove that Clara's actions were premeditated. It'll hold up in court. What about Madison? She knows too much. Angela paused. We'll deal with her if we have to, but for now, focus on Clara. She's the real threat. I didn't expect Clara to go quietly, and I was right. The next morning, I found her in the kitchen, packing bags. Going somewhere? I asked, leaning against the doorway. She glared at me. Not that it's any of your business, but yes. I've decided to take a little trip. I need some time to clear my head. Funny timing, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Right after you've drained Dad's accounts? Her face twisted into a sneer. You have no idea what you're talking about, don't I? I shot back. You think I don't know about the offshore accounts? The transfers? The fake invoices? You've been sloppy, Clara. And now everyone's going to know. For the first time, she looked genuinely rattled. You can't prove anything. Oh, I can. And I will. Later that day, Angela and I filed an emergency motion to freeze all of my father's accounts. Clara's access was cut off immediately, leaving her stranded. When she found out, she exploded, storming into the house like a hurricane. You think you're so clever, don't you? She spat, her face red with fury. You have no idea who you're messing with. Neither do you, I said calmly. This isn't just about the money, Clara. This is about justice. You're not going to get away with this. Her response was a string of insults and threats, but I didn't care. I had the upper hand now and I wasn't letting go. Through all of this, my father remained unaware of the chaos unfolding around him. His condition had improved slightly. He could speak a few words now, though his movements were still limited. I visited him that evening, sitting by his bedside and holding his hand. "Dad," I said softly, "I'm going to fix this. Promise?" He looked at me with tears in his eyes, his grip tightening ever so slightly. It was all the motivation I needed. Clara wasn't one to back down easily. When she realized her accounts had been frozen, she tried to manipulate Madison into helping her. But Madison, ever the opportunist, turned on her mother instead. "She's planning to leave the country," Madison confessed during a phone call. "She said she'll disappear before anyone can catch her." I relayed the information to Angela, who immediately contacted law enforcement. Clara's days of scheming were numbered. Clara's plan to flee was foiled when authorities caught her trying to board a private jet. The image of her being led away in handcuffs was one I'd treasure forever. But the battle wasn't over yet. The legal process would be long and grueling, and I needed to stay vigilant. With Clara behind bars, Madison's true colors began to show. While I thought she might lay low, she had other plans. Madison saw this as her chance to seize control of the situation. She started spreading rumors about me, claiming I was the one orchestrating the chaos to steal my father's fortune. Angela warned me about Madison's actions, but I was already a step ahead. I had recorded our earlier conversations, where she admitted to knowing about Clara's schemes and even helped me gather evidence. I wasn't about to let her rewrite the narrative. The tension finally came to a head at a family meeting called by Angela. My father's closest business associates, our extended family, and even a few of Clara's so-called friends showed up. Madison thought she could sway the room with her lies, but I was ready. She stood up, feigning innocence. "I just want what's best for my stepfather," she said, her voice dripping with fake concern. "But someone here has been working against him." Her eyes locked on me. "Funny you should say that," I said, standing to face her. "Because I have proof that you knew about Clara's theft and even helped her cover it up." The room fell silent as I played the recording. Madison's voice filled the air, bragging about her mother's schemes and laughing at my father's condition. By the time the recording ended, the room was buzzing with outrage. "You little snake," one of Clara's former friends hissed. "How could you do this to him?" Madison's face turned red as she stammered. I didn't mean." "You meant every word," I said firmly. "And now everyone knows." With Madison discredited, the focus shifted back to my father's recovery. The damage Clara and Madison had done to his reputation and finances was immense, but I was determined to make things right. I spent weeks working with Angela to untangle the mess they had created, meeting with his business partners to reassure them that the company was in good hands. It wasn't easy. Some people were skeptical, others outright hostile, but I refused to back down. My father had built this empire, and I wasn't going to let it crumble because of Clara's greed. One day, during one of my visits to the hospital, my father surprised me. He reached out with his good hand and squeezed mine, his voice barely above a whisper. "Proud of you," he said, his words slow but clear. Tears welled up in my eyes as I hugged him. For the first time in weeks, I felt like we were going to be okay. While my father worked on his recovery, Clara faced a legal storm. The evidence against her was overwhelming, and Angela made sure every last detail was brought to light. The trial was a media circus, with reporters clamoring to cover the downfall of the once glamorous socialite. Clara tried to play the victim, claiming she was manipulated by others, but no one believed her. The judge saw through her lies and sentenced her to a lengthy prison term for fraud and embezzlement. Madison didn't escape unscathed. With her mother gone, she tried to latch onto her wealthy friends, but they quickly distanced themselves. She was ostracized from the social circles she once ruled, left to fend for herself without the safety net she had always relied on. After months of hard work, my father's company began to stabilize. I took on a more active role, ensuring that every decision honored his vision. It wasn't just about saving the business, it was about preserving his legacy. One day, I received a call from Clara's former friend, Grace. She had always been close to Clara but admitted she never liked how Clara treated my father. "I have some information you might find useful," Grace said. She provided additional evidence that Clara had been scheming against my father from the very beginning. With Grace's help, we were able to recover even more of the stolen funds. The story of Clara's betrayal and my fight to save my father's legacy became a media sensation. Interviews, articles, and headlines painted a vivid picture of the chaos we had endured. While I didn't enjoy the spotlight, it helped restore faith in the company. As my father's health improved, he began to take an active interest in the company again. Though his physical limitations remained, his mind was as sharp as ever. Together, we worked to rebuild what Clara had tried to destroy. Before her sentencing, Clara requested a meeting. I didn't want to go, but my father insisted. When I entered the room, she looked nothing like the polished woman I once knew. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow. "I made mistakes," she said, her voice trembling. "But I didn't deserve this." "You deserve everything you got," I said coldly. "You hurt my father, stole from him, and laughed while he suffered. You don't get to play the victim." She didn't say another word. After Clara's sentencing and Madison's fall from grace, I focused on something deeply personal: restoring our family's reputation. For years, Clara had painted herself as the perfect wife and mother, while subtly pushing narratives that undermined my father and me. Her lies had tainted public perception, and I wasn't going to let that stand. I began a series of interviews sharing my father's real story, how he built his empire from the ground up, how he gave generously to the community, and how he trusted the wrong people. I didn't badmouth Clara directly. The truth was damning enough. The interviews were a resounding success. People began to see my father for the man he truly was, and the outpouring of support was overwhelming. Letters from old friends, employees, and even strangers flooded in, thanking him for his kindness and resilience. It was a victory, but more importantly, it was healing. Just when I thought Madison was out of our lives for good, she made one last desperate move. One morning, I received an email from her, an apology, or at least her version of one. "I was wrong," she wrote. "I know I hurt you and your father, but I was under my mom's influence. Please give me a chance to make things right." At first, I wanted to delete the email and forget she ever existed, but something about her tone felt off. It wasn't just an apology. It was a ploy. I forwarded the email to Angela, who confirmed my suspicions. "She's fishing for something," Angela said, "probably hoping to gain leverage or sympathy. Don't engage." And I didn't. Madison faded further into obscurity, her attempts to claw her way back into our lives failing miserably. As my father's health improved, we had more time to talk. Real conversations, not just about business but about life. One evening, as we sat in his study, he looked at me with a seriousness I hadn't seen in years. "You saved me," he said, his voice steady but emotional. "I don't know how I'll ever repay you." "You don't have to," I replied. "You've done so much for me already. This was my turn to protect you." He smiled, a hint of pride in his eyes. "You've grown into someone your mother would be proud of. I see her strength in you." His words stayed with me. They were a reminder of why I fought so hard. Not just for him, but for the legacy my mother and father had built together. News of Clara's decline reached us through mutual acquaintances. She had adjusted poorly to prison life, her health deteriorating rapidly. Though she had been the architect of her own downfall, there was a part of me that felt a flicker of pity. "Should we visit her?" my father asked one day, surprising me. "Why would you want to do that?" I asked, genuinely baffled. "Closure," he said simply. "For both of us." Reluctantly, I agreed. The visit was short and awkward. Clara looked like a shadow of her former self, her sharp edges dulled by regret and confinement. She tried to apologize, but my father stopped her. "I don't want your apologies," he said firmly. "I just hope you find peace, for your sake." It was a moment of grace that I didn't think Clara deserved, but it was my father's choice. As we left, I felt a strange sense of finality. Clara's chapter in our lives was truly over. With the chaos behind us, I turned my attention to the future. My father's company had stabilized, but I wanted to take it further. I proposed a new initiative, a foundation in my father's name to support young entrepreneurs from underprivileged backgrounds. It's what you would have wanted when you started, I told him. A chance for others to build something great. He nodded, his eyes shining with pride. Let's do it. The foundation was a huge success, garnering support from investors and partners who admired my father's story. It became a cornerstone of his legacy, proving that even in the face of betrayal, we could create something meaningful. Years later, as I stood on the stage of a packed auditorium, accepting an award on behalf of the foundation, I thought about everything we had been through. Clara's betrayal, Madison's scheming, the sleepless nights fighting to save my father's legacy. It all felt like a distant memory. My father sat in the front row, smiling proudly despite the wheelchair he still needed. He had come so far, and so had I. None of this would have been possible without him, I said, gesturing toward my father. He taught me the value of resilience, hard work, and integrity. This foundation is for him and everyone like him who dares to dream. The crowd erupted into applause, but all I could focus on was my father's smile. We had faced the darkness and come out stronger. Clara and Madison had tried to destroy us, but in the end, they only made us more determined to rise above. This wasn't just the end of a chapter. It was the beginning of a new story, one filled